one Christmas day years ago.
Turn that off.
Turn off
And
that music of the
That
devil.
racket.
it was during the war. My folks had very close friends in Arizona, May and Bill Campbell, and Bill would be the man she would marry the second time. They wrote and said that one of the boys from their church had gone in the Navy and was at Great Lakes. Would we please let him visit us? So he did for a few Sundays, and one Sunday, just shortly before Christmas, he walked very slowly to the North Shore train, and my dad said, "You better check into sickbay when you get back there." And he did, and a week later he wrote and told us he had rheumatic fever and would be confined to sickbay at Great Lakes, probably for several months, because rheumatic fever was very serious in those days. And in 2 weeks it would be Christmas. My dad and Mom thought about it, and my dad took matters in his own hands. I don't know what he did, but he wrote to Jimmy Anderson's parents in Arizona, "Send what you can of Christmas decorations for a tree." Next thing I found out, because my brother was in the Navy, that we were going to Great Lakes Christmas Day, Frank, Gladys, and Lois Joyce. Nobody was allowed on these bases during the war, especially civilians. But we had been given permission to bring a Christmas tree and all the trimmings to the ward that Jimmy Anderson was on. Christmas Day, my parents got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to fix the turkey. There was a chocolate cake. There was an angel food cake. There was a Swedish cardamom coffee cake. There was all the cookies. And Auntie Helen and Auntie Ida and them contributed. We had potato salad. We had everything you could imagine between the trunk and the back seat, plus a Christmas tree on the roof of the car. And off we went. When we got to the base, "Oh, Mr. Peterson." And they looked up into the trunk and said, "Wow, this smells good. We ought to come down there too." We were welcome on the base where no civilians were allowed. And for the next 3 hours, we had a Christmas party for these very sick boys in bed with Christmas dinner and all the fixings there were that my parents pulled out of the trunk and that they had been working on. And we didn't go to my dad's family that year because we had an appointment at Great Lakes. And that was typical of my parents to do something like this. And how to this day, we got on the base with food and all they did was say it smells good and they didn't check everything out. I don't know.
How old were you?
I was about 15.
Have you been checked out for rheumatic fever? Very serious, you know.
It was very serious.
Okay, to get on the base that way, you would probably have to have clearance from the base CO. Navy base, that's going to be an ad.
Great Lakes was huge.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah, you're going to have to have an admiral bless this thing.
And all we did was drive on, and we drove right up to the ward. And it was no parking signs all over. We unpacked everything, and we went in with the tree, and they were absolutely... And Jimmy was so delighted to see the ornaments from home.
Which side of Great Lakes were you on?
Because they can.
So what?
Which side of Great Lakes were you on?
Because they
We
can.
were in the sick bay, the hospital area.
It's changed.
Oh,
Since the 40s, it's
Yeah,
changed.
probably a little bit.
And
Huge amounts. I take a look at the Google shots of the stumps or Pendleton. I don't recognize those bases at all. MCRD hasn't changed much, San Diego, because that thing is a little dinky thing stuck in the middle of town. But Pendleton is completely different. 29 Palms is completely different.
Well, it's because Barack Obama, he changed everything. Hope and change.
Yeah, that's true.
And I just thought it was it was an interesting memory, and I told Ken about it about a week ago, and he said, "Grandma, you got to write that down." And I thought I'd share it tonight because that's what our Christmas Day changed, and we went to Great Lakes.
Well, you can still do that because today's not really Christmas, you know.
Okay, we
Thanksgiving.
know that. I also know that one of these days